Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call tonight's meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, November 8th, 2011. We're in the Village Hall Boardroom. This is the board meeting. It looks like it's about 7:05 p.m. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Booth, would you please call the roll?
Mr. DeTuso?
Present.
Mr. Novak?
Present.
Mr. Gary?
Present.
Mr. Sloan?
Present.
Mr. Stecker?
Present.
Mr. Yurkovich?
Present.
Mr. Foley?
Present. We do have a quorum. Do we have any presentations, or are we doing that in the count?
They're agenda items.
Okay. Okay, item number 5, public comments and questions. Anyone has a comment, please step up to the microphone, introduce yourself to our clerk for the record. Come on, Michael, you're up.
First of all, I want to thank Sam, President, for delivering my letter to Danny Davis. I did get a response,
You did? Oh, great, thank you.
but he didn't answer the question. He did the same thing as Barack Obama and Senator Durbin. Neither one answered the question. And I don't want to bring it up there. You know what it was anyway. But about a month ago or so, I heard the mayor of Chicago saying that they're going to increase the water rates to 50% per 1,000 gallons of water delivered to the suburbs. And that kind of shocked me. This was on TV. And I thought, my God, what's this guy talking about? 25% of the people in Chicago don't even have water meters. And we've been paying their bills for years, at least 50 years anyway, that I know. They just don't have meters, but we're paying their bills. And yet they keep raising us. Maybe it's time for us to start thinking about sinking a well and getting Lake Michigan water. I think it's possible, at least in the future anyway, so we aren't at their mercy. Because every time they raise our water rates, we get the people in Westchester get nailed for it, which isn't right. I heard one very interesting thing last Sunday on 60 Minutes. It was about these lobbyists in Washington, D.C. Now, these are only comments of my own. It doesn't have anything to do with anybody else. I just thought I'd bring it up. But anyway, on 60 Minutes, these lobbyists, there's at least over 100 of them in the guy's pockets. They get paid so much money from the lobbyists and get jobs, get tickets for all kinds of doings, tickets for plane rides to any place they want to go in the world, and they get away with it. These people should be thrown out of office, like right now if we could do it. That's one comment. The next comment I want to make is a kind of a serious one, to me anyway. You know, Exxon Corporation, they made in 2011, in the very first quarter of this year, they made almost $2 billion profit. Okay? They own Commonwealth Edison. They own the company. They got money coming out of their ears. And yet, our congressmen and senators from Springfield vote to give these guys a raise for the next 10 years that the citizens of this town are going to have to pay through the nose, which is absolutely wrong. There's the guys that, when election time comes, they should be absolutely thrown out of office. They did us no good at all. They aren't representing us at all. They must be getting something on the side to be able to do this, because they aren't thinking of us. They're thinking of themselves. Well, that's enough of that. I don't want to go over 3 minutes. one more thing on it. You know, we wonder about all the traffic that we have. Years ago, there used to be a Chicago Elgin Railroad track. We used to go to Chicago. There used to be 30,000 people per day going into the city of Chicago. Why did it stop? Because of the senior mayor that was mayor at the time. He came in and said, no, you guys are going to get charged now every time you cross our lines into Chicago. That was Daley, Mayor Daley, the father. And from then on, that was the end of Chicago Elgin Railroad. They had no choice. They couldn't pay all that money to Chicago just to cross the line and bring 30,000 people. That's why you see that Eisenhower's it's a parking lot. Roosevelt Road is the same way. Cermak Road is the same way. Absolutely ridiculous. That's all I have to say. I have one more thing, but I can't. All my time.
Well, if you want, you know, when we get in the committee of the whole, there's another bite at the apple. If you want to wait around, and I have some comments relative to the water thing, you could get another bite and come up and talk a little bit more.
I might be able to.
All right, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening, President Puglia. My name is Michael Lambert. I'm with Harris Architects and Planners out of Plainfield. I'm here at the request of Larry Godson from the Save the Prairie Society. I believe he may have spoken with you and was asked to be here, but he actually has fallen ill a little bit, so I'm speaking for the group this evening.
You know, if you let me preface this before you get started. Just Mr. Godson is involved with the Prairie Society and the old house in Westchester on 26th Street. And I know I mentioned to a couple of trustees in passing that they're planning on putting up a parking lot in an area just east of their building presently. The property is owned by the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. The area where the parking lot is going to be actually covers one of the former streets, I believe it's Drake, that used to run, on paper at least, from 31st Street to what was then 26th Street. And what Mr. Godson asked me to do was compose a letter to the IDNR that we would be in favor of allowing that parking lot to be placed in that location, because apparently it was a platted street right-of-way back in the day. That area has all pretty much been vacated. The county board vacated a portion of that. However, this is an IDNR portion that they're looking favorably that we would allow the parking lot to be built over what was formerly a street. I think I have that correctly. Mr. DePasquale has been involved in some contact regarding that and has supplied, I think, Larry with information regarding the lot, what the codes are as far as putting it in, et cetera, et cetera. So at the end of the day, before I send a paper down to the IDNR that I would want board tacit approval for me to send something off. So I think that's pretty much where we're at, correct?
I think you've covered almost all of my.
Okay.
Just a few things I would like to add is that I do have a diagram here. Basically, what we're asking for. The other component is there is an alley that is also abutting the southern edge of the property that we would be asking to also be vacated to the western property edge of the Save the Prairie Society property. And I would just like, for those of you who've I've not been here in a while, but I've been working with the group since for 25 years this year. It's my 25th year anniversary of trying to get this project completed. And I have met with the building department and the fire department and have committed to assisting the Save the Prairie Society to get a final phase plan together that would get this project finally finished and meeting all the city code, village codes, and the Americans with Disabilities Act. And this is one critical step because we do need to provide a compliant parking surface rather than the mulch try to get this project completed before I retire. And so if you need a diagram, I did print out a very quick diagram of what we're seeking. It's just very schematic, but you summarized everything that we're looking for. We're looking for a letter of support to the Illinois Department of Natural Resources.
Yeah, and honestly, right now, it's just, I think there's a garden on there now that would probably have to be relocated or put in a different place. When we're talking about the, I don't say wooded area or weeded area, but the natural area just east of the building. So, anyone have any angst with that for the letter? Okay. I just wanted to present it to the board. I didn't want to unilaterally sign off on something that my colleagues may not have been, A, aware of, number one. Number two, that they may not have been in support of. But I think we have tacit approval here to draft off that letter to the IDNR that we're not obstructionists to the operation. And I know that the other information will go to Mr. Di Pasquale for his review, and he's thorough in regards to that, and we'll have a good working relationship, certainly with the Prairie House and Museum, and hopefully we'll have some other mutual beneficial things in the future. I think possibly back in the day there may have been some angst between the organizations, and I think that this board is certainly want to have a good working relationships with all our partners in the village. And you being one of them as well.
Entire society, we thank you for your support. We would ask that you also copy the society, and we'll get all that information to you so that you have all the proper contacts, so that we have that in our file.
Okay, make sure that our clerk has your name and address and stuff and information, and we'll get the information to you and Larry as well.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
My name is Joseph Schranz. I'm the Vice President of Perry, and I would echo what he says. It's a great opportunity for our kids to have something that's really special in the area, as a museum and nature center. There have been many, many hours spent trying to complete this, and it has been 25 years, and we would appreciate your help with that. And my heart, thank you for that.
Okay. If you wouldn't mind spelling your name, I know it's not common spelling for Kathy. You do. Great. Thank you. Anyone else, please?
Hi, good evening. My name is Timothy Hinsdale. I reside at 1613 Kensington Avenue here in beautiful Westchester, and I'm speaking here as a private citizen. And I wish to commend the board for finally publishing the village board meeting packet online. I truly have been asking for this for several years, and I'm so gratified that you finally were able to do it technically with the spirit of being open and, excuse me, Trustee Novak, transparent. One of the benefits of being able to read the packet in advance is, maybe one of the other trustees will notice this, but in your minutes on page 21 for the meeting of October 11th, you had a unanimous vote, which was then recorded as 6 ayes and 1 nay. So I would wish that, in my counting, it isn't unanimous when it's 6 to 1. So I'd like to see you correct that. And I'd also I'm looking forward to, I know there's plans to revamp and rework our existing webpage. I know that's in the works. It's going to take some time. But I want to call your attention to an organization called the Illinois Policy Institute, which reviews municipal websites and rates them for their openness, their information, their quality. Our neighboring village of Lombard was just lauded by the Illinois Policy Institute for having the best municipal website in the whole state. So I encourage you to look around before we're going to revamp ours and get the best practices from these other ones. And I would invite you to contact the Illinois Policy Institute and ask them for some guidance. I think it would truly make ours the very best website in the state. So thank you again. Also, I'm very appreciative of the video portion. I would just ask that could we raise it up a little bit so people in the cheap seats can read it too. Thank you again.
If I'm not mistaken, Greg, isn't the company that we're working with that had something to do with Lombards, or they're?
They work with Lombard's website, yes. The company we're using to,
It's not the format that I'm upgrading, it's
The content.
how much you,
Right.
how open.
Right, and we are in the works of the television. It was one of the brainstorms I had, in addition that I mentioned at a prior meeting. And I know that we've ordered a television set on last Friday for a good price that will be mounted. So, in the works. So, any other comments? Okay, any public hearings? Nothing. Consent agenda. Anyone need anything pulled? Mr. Bree.
I'd like the record of bills pulled and the minutes of October 11th of the village board meeting.
On CI?
Correct.
Okay. Anything else? If not, is there a motion and a second to approve item number B, the monthly reports, and the Committee of the Whole minutes of the 11th of October, and the identity protection policy under D, and the change order for the sidewalk on item E? Is there a motion for those?
So moved.
Second.
Brian, and was it Nick?
Mm-hmm.
Any discussion? If not, Kathy, call the roll.
Mr. Gattuso?
Aye.
Mr. Novak?
Aye.
Mr. Perry?
Aye.
Mr. Sloan?
Aye.
Mr. Stecker?
Aye.
Mr. Yurkovich?
Aye.
Mr. Fulia?
Aye. Okay, the first topic under item A, record of bills. Brian, or what's right, a motion and a second for approval? No discussion? Motion by
So moved.
Brian? And a second
I'd like to
by?
make a motion to approve the record of bills with the exception of payment to Ms. Pfister in the amount of $4,529 and Mr. Urban in the amount of $5,988.57.
Okay, I heard there was a motion, but was there a second on that?
Oh,
Nick, did you,
no.
on the bills, a second? Okay. Discussion? Is there any discussion?
it.
So
My
the
motion is to
Wait,
approve the
mo-
bills with the exception of those two items.
Oh. yeah. Can
Nick
I
is-
didn't second. No.
Oh, you're not seconding
No.
that? Okay. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second.
Wally. Brian and Wally. Okay. Okay, there's a motion and a second on the floor to approve the record of bills with the exception of the two items that Trustee Sloan and Trustee Wally indicated. This will be a roll call vote. Kathy, please call the roll.
Mr. Novak?
No.
Mr. Perry?
Aye.
Mr. Sloan?
Aye.
Mr. Stecker?
No.
Mr. Yurkovich?
No.
Mr. Gattuso?
No.
Mr. Fulia?
No. Okay, is there a motion, a second, to approve the record of bills as presented? Motion by
So moved.
Nick. Second by, sorry, Paul? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Perry?
Aye.
Mr. Sloan?
No.
Mr. Stecker?
Aye.
Mr. Yurkovich?
Aye.
Mr. Gattuso?
Aye.
Mr. Novak?
Aye.
Mr. Fulia?
Aye. Bills carry. Item number CI, is there a motion, a second, to approve the October 11th, and then we'll go into the whatever change we need to make.
So moved.
Brian?
Second. Changes.
Tom? Okay, Brian, was there a change other than
Just,
Mr.?
yeah, and I mentioned it to Kathy before the meeting.
Okay,
just the
so we're
change
going to
from
make the
unanimous.
change, and that'll be noted in the record that the vote was, there were no negative votes on that vote. Is that correct?
No, there was.
There was one.
We have
There was
to
or one? I'm
remove,
sorry.
the- remove the word unanimous.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor of approving the amended minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, those carry. Item number 8 on the active agenda, ordinance authorizing an amendment to the liquor code. As you can recall, we talked at our committee of the whole about allowing a BYOB type ordinance. I think Kate and Mike were working on this, and we actually patterned this after the Forest Park liquor code. I believe it's a D-5 BYOB. And I'll read that under, it's on page 29. I don't know if it's on your page like that, but Class D-5 BYOB licensing, allowing for the consumption of beer or wine only brought onto the premises of a restaurant by a patron for their personal consumption while being served a meal in said establishment. The annual fee for such license shall be $500, and such license shall be subject to the following conditions and restrictions. They're listed 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think each of the board members have a copy of that, so are there any questions to that? If not, I'll have a motion, a second to approve. Motion?
So moved.
Paul?
Second.
And Tom? Are there any other questions regarding that, or anybody want to tighten it up or do any alterations to it? Seems to be fine? Okay. Kathy, roll call, please.
Mr. Sloan?
Aye.
Mr. Stecker?
Aye.
Mr. Yurkovich?
Aye.
Mr. Gatuso?
Aye.
Mr. Novak?
Aye.
Mr. Perry?
Aye.
Mr. Fulia?
Aye. Item number B is a resolution authorizing the estimated 2011 tax levy. Is there a, you want to talk about it first?
Sure.
There we go.
Well, just briefly, state statute requires the village to notify the public that it intends to levy a property tax levy. This resolution is authorizing the board to go forward with that levy and does contain an estimate of the taxes intended to be levied. This can be changed prior to passage of our tax levy ordinance in December.
Okay, as I understand the tax levy piece, no matter what we ask for, it's all tied to the CPI or what is less.
Correct, and the current year CPI as published is 1.5%, which is a decrease from last year, which was 2.7% increase.
All right, is there a motion and a second to approve that resolution? Motion.
Did we talk about Zecca
I'm sorry?
at a cow?
I thought
We did not discuss this at a cow, but due to the timing of the December.
No, it's
Well,
fine.
then-
We just need to vote
we'll
to
do it.
suspend.
Yeah.
I make a motion, we suspend the rules requiring that this appear before a cow.
Okay, Brian made the motion, is there a second?
Second.
Wally?
Or Nick, whatever.
Okay. All those in favor of suspending the rules to allow this vote to take place? Kathy, roll call?
Mr. Stecker?
Aye.
Mr. Yurkovich?
Aye.
Mr. Gatuso?
Aye.
Mr. Novak?
Aye.
Mr. Perry?
Aye.
Mr. Sloan?
Aye.
Mr. Fulia?
Aye. Okay, now that that's passed, the resolution on its face, is there a motion and a second for its approval? Motion by
So moved.
Brian?
Second.
Second by Paul. Any other discussion? I understand this levy is also library and us, that's how this pans out, correct?
Correct. The total indicated in the resolution is $7,128,100, of which a library's portion is $1,164,600, and the village's portion is $5,963,500.
Okay, so we have all the numbers out in the open. Kathy, roll call, please.
I'm just gonna bring that up, Tom.
Mr. Yurkovich?
Aye.
Mr. Gatuso?
Aye.
Mr. Novak?
Aye.
Mr. Perry?
Aye.
Mr. Sloan?
Aye.
Mr. Stecker?
Aye.
Mr. Fulia?
Aye.
President Puleo, I just have
Oh,
a question for Janet.
Trustee Stecker, please.
Just wondering, with the, and I know you weren't here previously, but when we talked about getting a independent actuary for when we're looking at the levy, did we do that, or did we go off of their actuary? Did we go off the state? Where did the, I'm just curious for the number.
We have not done that to date.
Okay.
We can
Is it something
investigate
where-
that prior to the actual tax levy. The current calculation was based on last year's aggregate
Okay.
and our increase allowable without going to
Because I know
a public hearing.
the fund, they have their own
So-
actuary, and then there's the
Correct.
state one. that
You're
you
talking
can
about the
go-
pension
Yeah,
funds.
correct.
Right, right now, we're just looking at the levy in aggregate, and we
Okay.
can, in our discussions of the tax levy ordinance in the upcoming weeks, we'll discuss the allocation by function.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, managers report. It's all yours.
Well, briefly, unless you want me to say anything else, I guess I would just like to remind everybody that the holiday season is fast approaching, and would like to encourage donations to our Westchester Food Pantry so that everybody can enjoy a nice, healthy holiday.
Thank you. Ms. Attorney.
The only thing that I would mention is that I know in the ordinance that you just approved for the liquor amendment, there was some discussion, I was told at the last meeting, about removing potentially the fact that an applicant had to be a resident of Cook County. However, upon research, and I'm sure you saw it in the ordinance, I'll just read a section of the state statute that says, except as otherwise provided in certain sections, no license of any kind issued by the state commission or any local commission, which would be Westchester, shall not be issued to a person who is not a resident of any city, village, or county in which the premises covered by the licenses are located, except in the case of a railroad or boat license. So the reason why it was amended to say Village of Westchester, Cook County is because of that provision.
How does that impact issuing a license to like a Walgreens or a Jewel?
Corporations are accepted.
Okay.
So if it is a LLC, or does it just have to be corporation? How does that play out? Because there's been a number of LLCs that have,
I think LLCs are defined as a corporation.
we want to make sure, so when we're doing this right.
Yeah, a corporation or limited liability company.
Right.
So this would be an individual that would desire to open up some type of restaurant facility in our village. Would
Correct.
have to be a resident
Correct.
as well, unless it fell into those other exceptions.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anything else, Ms. Attorney?
That's it.
Board members' reports and any new business? Anyone have anything to share?
Just a second, Jan's comment. The cab is working on the food pantry and everybody, so is the whole village. We have locations at the Village Hall and both park buildings at Mayfair and Community Center. I want to thank Molly for all of her help, and we are also currently getting the schools involved to donate.
And additionally, you forgot one little piece of the cab, even though I wasn't there. As we did last year, we let the CAB select the Christmas decorations or holiday decorations that will go up on Manheim Road. We also are extending that a little bit along Roosevelt Road, and I think it should be our goal to, over the years, make sure that the decorations are along all the thoroughfares of Westchester, not just the Manheim Road one. And I want to thank Molly for beating up on the vendor a little bit and adding another half a dozen or so, or 12, 16 poles, whatever, along Roosevelt Road. So that's going to be a nice added change to the village. Wally, Green Committee.
Green Committee we have a new member, or a potential new member, Gene Clotter, and we are scheduled to meet next week on the 17th.
Okay.
Also, I want
Yes,
to add a little bit of the flood insurance, a little update on
Go ahead.
that now that we know
Absolutely,
more.
sir.
Back in 2009, we as the board started looking into getting a community rating, joining the community rating system, which allows villages that join it to and are approved by it to get a certain rating, and that rating allows a discount on the residents' flood insurance. It's been a long process. We had a little bit delay with the actual flood in 2010, but this week there's a steps involved, but we were audited by the IDNR and they found a couple exceptions. We since then corrected it, and the IDNR has now approved us for that, which now goes to FEMA. I just was contacted by FEMA saying that they've approved our application, so to speak, and are moving it now. The last step is for us to sit with the National Flood Insurance Program and get our official ranking. So for anybody who has flood insurance, the short-winded story is it's good news, because if you didn't, you were paying $1 amount, and if we get a ranking, you'll be paying less. So in the times where everything's going up, fees are being increased, or actually through the work of the village, we're able to get a potential discount on flood insurance.
Great, good job. You know, we talked about that back in 2008, 2009, about the flood insurance situation, and I think we've got it pretty well rectified, and there should be some reductions to the flood areas
I'm not going to commit to 1% right now.
that we have. But it'll be anything we get
Anything
is better than it was.
nothing.
Any other board person have any reports or information to share? Brian?
As you mentioned, the food pantry, there is a food drive the next 2 weekends with the Cub Scouts. Anybody that's interested in helping out, you can show up at the community church on the boulevard next to the Park District. It starts at about 9 o'clock the next 2 Saturdays. And they'll basically, the first weekend they'll pass out flyers, and the second weekend they go around back to the houses and collect the food. So it's something the Cub Scouts have been working on for, probably the last 10 years or so. It's a really good event, so if you want to come out and help, I know they greatly appreciate the help.
Yeah, teeing up on that as well, Tony Saviano, who is a code enforcement person that handles a lot of the code stuff, specifically in the area of electric, came to me last spring with a company or a group of individuals that put holiday baskets together with turkey and things of that nature. And Tony and I met with the group. It's called CHAO, C-A-I-O. And we're able to get at least 20 baskets that we're going to be picked up. He and I are going to pick them up on the 20th and deliver them. So frozen turkeys and the like. And we've been in contact with, or Tony's been in contact with some of the churches. Some, certainly people are proud, and we want to try to keep their identities as secret as they want to keep them secret. And we'll be working with the churches in town to make sure that those donations are tendered for a nice holiday meal. So kudos to Tony Saviano, resident as well. It's doing a great job for us. Board President report, as Trustee Novak mentioned, I've sent a information sheet regarding Ms. Jean Clotter of 1920 Norfolk in Westchester, that had indicated that she would like to work on the Green Committee as well. I sent that information out to you. I believe that her resume of volunteer activity in the community is exemplary, and I would certainly nominate her to be on that board. I know I didn't hear any negative comments, so if there's a tacit consensus, I would certainly like to welcome Ms. Clotter. I don't know if she's in the audience this evening.
I think she is.
Is she in the back? She's hiding in the back? You got to come up front now, if you wouldn't mind. Introduce yourself to the board so we can get a look at you. So, and of course, November 12th, I know we'll be out at one of the Green Committee events that we're doing the electronic recycling. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to do this one in November, and then we're going to take a little hiatus and kick back in maybe when the weather gets a little bit better. Is that kind of the goal?
May.
I don't think it'll be that long. So, welcome, Ms. Clotter.
Welcome.
To the fold. I know Walter has probably 4 or 5 individuals now.
Yeah, actually, we are growing with the acceptance of Ms. Clotter, and hopefully I'd like to get at least one or two more to get a good solid committee. And Gene, welcome aboard.
Yes.
So we're meeting every night from 6 to...
Additionally, we talked about, green committee, recycling, and things of that nature, and I think that this village has really gone out of its way to have a program of recycling. Greg Riebel and I, on October 29th, were able to hook into the DEA pill turn-in, and we've been collecting pills 24/7 here for the last couple of months. And I think we probably delivered one of the most boxes of pills. In fact, when we lifted up the box, it fell through the bottom to Oak Lawn, to the DEA, and we're part of that program as well, albeit we do it 24/7. Other communities do it on maybe quarterly basis one time. So I know Greg helps out in a lot of fashions and a lot of things here, and he should be noted that we took time out on a Sunday to drive down to Oak Lawn to deliver the pills and that, and I want to thank Greg as well. I've also asked Molly to look into another shredding event. If you recall, we had electronics recycling several months ago where we actually had shredders on site as a result of the state allowed shredding of documents. That certainly goes through a process and a procedure. We just don't shred things because we want to. There has to be state approval before we do anything like that. And I've asked her, because we did get a lot of calls on that, to try to organize one in the upcoming soon, to get something out that we may be able to do some state allowed things as well, but to have the community get rid of some of their important documents. They shred them on site. You could watch them do it, and they do a 96-gallon toter in about 6 seconds. It's gone, and you could watch it be destroyed. So I know Molly's doing well with that. As I mentioned to Mike, I did attend a meeting yesterday at the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus. I don't know if it's fortunately or unfortunately enough, I was the only mayor in the area to attend that. And we had a meeting with Mayor Rahm Emanuel and the water commissioner and his staff from the Chicago Water Agency. They talked about a 25% increase for 2012, which we talked about last board meeting, and 3 15% increases over the next couple of years. I did ask Mayor Emanuel and the board if they would consider a 10% this year, and maybe adding a 15% on the end, and adding another year to it, and it pretty well fell on deaf ears. Their water commissioner made a case that a lot of the pipes, 800 of them, are over 100 years old, and these are some main water mains in the city of Chicago. They talked about a giant sinkhole where they lost several million gallons within a very short period of time and flipped the car upside down. They also talked about the 12 pumping sites that they have, 4 of which are steam operated, which are about $26 million to run, where an electric one is about $11 million to run. They talked about upgrading a lot of the facilities that they have, and that was the need for the percentage increase that they certainly proposed on October 19th to all the suburban users. Presently, 53% of the water that comes out of Lake Michigan is used by the city of Chicago, and 47% by suburban Cook County, DuPage County. I think it goes out to Will County and probably Lake as well. So you figure this whole metropolitan area makes up the 100%. They're planning on doing multiple upgrades along the way. They've promised reporting of such and, you know, what they're doing. They've offered any tours to the facilities, whether it be the South's one that services south of I-55 or the Jardine, which pretty much services our areas. They talked about the condition of their water mains, similar to how we talk about the conditions of our water pipes and water mains as well. At least 100 of these mains are over 100 years old, or 1,000 of the mains were 100 years old. And if you recall, I gave a packet of information. It was one page that changed in that about the scattergram in that. Certainly the board members weren't pleased with the increase, as no one was. There was some talk about potentially a class action suit, and even the mention of a suit that was filed prior in the 70s and 80s regarding a similar increase as well. The appellate court ruled in that case, and this is obviously through, you know, their attorney. I haven't read the cases yet myself. That as long as the increase was passed along to all the users, and that the cost was determined to be reasonable, that increase back at that point in time went forward. Never reached class action status. So the mayors are continuing to meet. I have a meeting with the West Central Municipal Conference on the 18th to plot out what strategies that we're looking at. But at the end of the day, when I left the meeting yesterday, I was basically told that this is a done deal as far as the aldermen in the city of Chicago are going to pass this, this increase as was presented to them and to us on or about our January 1 date. So it's kind of the information that I have. There was some meter talk, and actually I had a hard time believing it, but the former water commissioner, who is now the head of the DuPage Water Commission, and the present commissioner of the city of Chicago says that in the event that the houses in Chicago would all have meters, that it would be a negative thing as far as their cash flow. They said that homes presently pay about $425 a year in the city of Chicago, and it's based on some kind of formula of square footage, et cetera, and that each one of those are going up at least $10 a month, which is going to be a $120 additional charge to the city residents who have water, and that there would be a savings to the homeowner, and there are some incentives if they would in fact put a meter in their home. So I don't know if I believe that, but it was said on two different fronts with some numbers and documentation, but that's pretty much where we're at. So I'll keep you posted the best that I can. I don't think WCMC or the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus is going to go. I could only say that I was the only one that offered any kind of alternate solution other than hearing the information roll off of the commissioner's lips. On Saturday, I attended the Hillside Veterans Day Parade, the 9th annual. We were well represented with our police and fire departments as well, and Mayor Tamburino, being a veteran, and I am not, had a wonderful event for our veterans, and it was a prudent thing to do. We had the Hummer in there, plus the police and fire vehicles, and it was really something special to see. Additionally, I attended the Sheriff Youth Medal of Honor presentation ceremony last night. There were 6 residents of Westchester, teenagers, who were awarded the Sheriff's Youth Medal, similar to that of Wally's son last year. I was very proud to be there for our kids. 4 of them, as you know, were helpers this summer with a lot of the tasks that I had them do around the village. 2 other ones were working either at the zoo or other occupation, and gathered their hours as well. I've asked them to appear at one of our next board meetings to meet you as board members and to be lauded for their service. I also did have a conversation with Sheriff Dart at the conclusion, and I thanked him for the quick resolve in the Indian Head Park homicide case of the 14-year-old girl from Indian Head Park. I told him that as a police officer, I think they did a great job with the leads that they had and brought it to a quick resolution and an apprehension. A very sad thing that I'm sure went through Westchester as well as the other communities that surround us, and even parts across the state and this nation, hearing about a 14-year-old girl that potentially interrupted a burglary and lost her life as a result of that. I could say more, but I won't. But I did thank him for all his hard work in that case. Miss April, anything to add to the game? Oh. Yes.
Yes, the Westchester Police Department over a Halloween weekend participated in a multi-jurisdictional task force. It was comprised of members of Maywood, Broadview, and Bellwood Police Departments in conjunction with us. The focus of this task force was arrest warrant sweeps and saturated patrols. Preliminary results as a result of our participation was that there were 6 guns seized, 3 were shotguns, 1 rifle, 2 handguns. They were also focusing on FOID cards and that were expired, and there were 2 arrests for battery, 1 for traffic, 2 for possession of cannabis, and 1 for possession of controlled substance. This was a new program that it was something we're looking into doing on a more regular basis with outside agencies. Officers that participated in this event told me it was the best training they've ever experienced because it was hands-on. Also received a letter from the chief of the Hillside Police Department. I would like to personally thank you on behalf of the family of Hillside Village Clerk Patrick O'Sullivan in sending a MARC squad and providing an escort for Clerk Sullivan's funeral on October 27th. This demonstration of respect for Clerk Sullivan and his family was greatly appreciated. It is gratifying to know that there's such a mutual support between our agencies in times of need like this. As always, if there's anything we can do for your agency in the future, please do not hesitate to call. And it was from Chief Lukashik of the Police Department. That's it.
Dennis, anything in the hopper, friend?
I just want to say that we're still seeing a little bit of an uptick in the commercial permits this year as compared to last year. It's kind of a good sign that the economy has got a little tiny bit of a rebound. We still have quite a ways to go, though, but at least we're ahead of last year's clip, and it's just good to see the commercial starting to move. The residential is still a little bit soft, but I think until the unemployment improves, I think that'll still stay a little soft. That's about all I have.
Mr. Feccarata, anything to add to the board meeting? That's this week, correct? Is a branch pickup? Any impact with the? I know your rain gauge was about 1.5 inches today.
Oh, wow.
1.5 inches. Yes, I'll tell you what, last week as a result of or 2 weeks ago, our other meeting, I actually went into the storm sewer at Carlisle off of Mayfair, and I want to say did the duck walk because I think Vinny did that, but walked on a 45-degree angle to Sunnyside, physically checking out the inlets to each one of the streets along Carlisle. it's amazing that you could actually walk bent over in a 48-inch pipe for that long, sloshing around in stormwater. We found a few little bricks and things of that nature inside there, and we did see a little bit of a pipe section that needs to be replaced just north of Carlisle on Downing. There was a section that appeared to be broken that we actually videotaped all this so we could see what we had to do, but the water did flow out to Salt Creek. So it was very interesting. Well, my comments today, as we were standing at Carlisle watching the creek enter the sewer system there, I have to tell you that it was like a waterfall entering that pipe. And I know John popped the cover right outside there where it actually enters it, and it was a roaring river. It was similar to if you were in some kind of tube at Disney World, you know, crossing your arms and, you know, flying out at the other end. It was really moving down there. So there was a lot of water that's being gathered through that Mastodon Creek that's entering the retention pond, and then certainly into the water system as well for the storm water. Mr. Gregg, anything to add, sir?
This is a reminder to everybody that tomorrow is the test of the emergency alert system, which is a nationwide test. It's going to be conducted through Comcast, all the television vendors. This is being put through by the Federal Communications Commission to get everybody on the same page for emergency notifications. Here locally, we're just going to be setting off our siren. That'll be at 1 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow. This will be 1 o'clock here. It'll be 2 Eastern and the proper time zones nationwide. We're going to be doing this. So if you do hear the sirens, wherever you're at 1 in the afternoon, you'll know what it is. In addition to that, I want to add that for quite some time now, we've been working with the Westbrook Corporate Center to get one of our sirens on top of their building. They've requested that because they believe that it would enhance the safety of the building tenants in the event that there is some sort of need to notify them of either a tornado or any other disaster that may occur. We've been working with them, again, for well over a year, but more recently they finally asked me for a final quote, and I spoke with a vendor that would mix with our system so that when we make our notification to our residents, that the siren would go off there. In addition, that will help the south end of town by projecting that sound as it will spin. It will project the sound south of there for residents that are west of Wolf and south of 22nd.
Thank you. Mrs. Booth, anything you'd like to share, young lady? Nothing. Okay. Before we adjourn this meeting and go into our committee of the whole, a couple things should be noted. Most of you know that Mr. Jerry Spahn, longtime resident of Westchester, passed away last week. And Barb is our village treasurer, and we're very sorry for the family's loss. Additionally, I think most of you know the mayor of Beckett Avenue, Mr. George Zanoni. His wife Carolyn passed away as well about a week or two ago. She was a avid hunter. In fact, back in the 80s, she was noted as one of the I don't know if it was nationwide or statewide woman of hunting world or whatever it was, that her and her husband were very proficient in bow hunting. And if you've ever been to George's house, you see all kinds of game and that they've ended up doing in, I guess, with the bow hunting. And Carolyn was certainly a lovely lady, and we'll miss her as well. I know she's been sick for a little bit of time, and George has tended to her magnificently all these years. So our thoughts and prayers go out to both of those families, the Spahn family. Jerry was always happy-go-lucky. he never had anything bad to say about anybody, and if you talked to anybody that knew him, he was always positive, giving candy to the kids, to the crossing guards, always had a pleasant word to say, and it's a great loss for
Yeah, I always had a joke.
for our community.
bad joke.
It's
So-
a very bad joke.
So, anyway, I don't believe we have any executive session after this. We do? Negotiations?
Yes.
Okay, so we will have a negotiation session, an executive session after the committee of the whole. I think this is an update to where we're at in the collective bargaining realm. Is that correct?
Should be a short meeting.
Yeah.
Should or will?
Yeah, I had a nickel for every time I heard that.
Okay, so a motion and a second to adjourn our board meeting, and then we'll go into our committee of the
So
whole.
moved.
Second.
Nick and Frank, all those in favor of adjourning this meeting?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposition, say no. Okay, we stand adjourned. We'll go right into our.